Well, Bill, just in the past minute, oral arguments started with lawyers for former President Donald Trump speaking first. Both Trump and E. Jean Carroll are inside the courthouse as their lawyers are given 10 minutes each to make their cases before a three-judge panel about why the jury's verdict should or should not be vacated. Last year, a jury found Trump sexually abused and defamed Carroll. The court fined him $5 million for that. A second defamation trial with Carroll cost Trump an additional $83 million. In court filings, Trump's lawyers maintain that he's innocent. They say the trial was politically motivated, arguing, quote, plaintiff offered and repeatedly emphasized inadmissible evidence to the jury, which was wrongly admitted by the district court, and made other arguments that President Trump was prevented from addressing through improperly precluded questioning and evidence. Trump's team argues the court limited what they could ask Carroll during her cross-examination. And they say the judge allowed prejudicial and unrelated evidence, including testimony from other women and the inclusion of the Access Hollywood tape. Now, it's a busy week in court for the former president. Just yesterday, his lawyers entered a not guilty plea on his behalf for special counsel Jack Smith's new indictment in the federal election interference case. And today, just down the street, Bill, Judge Juan Merchan is expected to issue a decision on Trump's request to delay his sentencing in his Manhattan criminal trial. Trump wants that to happen after the November election. Now, as for Trump's appeal in this case, we are not expecting a ruling from the bench today, but we are expecting a news conference with former President Trump at Trump Tower at noon.
Those that want people to believe that you want retribution, that you will use the system of justice to go after your political enemies.
Maybe smash a few things along the way.
I'm a big fan of that one. I'm a big fan of it. It's a good meme, Jerry. That's a good meme. We are going to be live today for President Trump's historic address on the courthouse steps in New York. Man, this is going to be made for TV cinema, baby. Get ready. We'll be live for the whole thing. President Trump set to appear at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, high noon, on the steps of the court. We've been detailing, of course, all of the lawfare and all of the shady and dirty tactics that have been used to prevent President Trump from being on the ballot this week. But, ooh, man, do we have quite an update. Oh, you're going to love this one. Today is Friday, September 6th, 2024. We are just 60 days away from the presidential general election. Early voting starts like tomorrow. This is incredible. We are living inside of the time warp right now, the crucible in the arena. So we are ready to fight, baby. Yeah, we are ready to fight, actually. Got to tell you what. Trump to hold press conference today in New York City. Hunter Biden pleads guilty in tax cases. How much has our federal government been lying to us about Hunter Biden? Well. We'll talk about Hunter Biden and all of the many misdeeds and what may happen next. Seems like the federal government is actually strangely not going easy on him. We'll read to you the DOJ filing and what Joe Biden plans on doing on his way out of office. Julie Kelly and Trump legal surrogate Mahek Cook join the show today. So we'll have a stacked program for you. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Staying connected in times of breaking news. It has been withering. I got to tell you, man, I mean, like there are times when you really do feel like a gladiator, right? And I'm not saying that we're like the conqueror. It's nothing compared to like what Trump does every single day, but holy smokes, have we been inside of one of those wild Roman Colosseums and had the lions charging at us, the rhinos, the flooding the Colosseum, the boats smashing each other. We've been in it, okay? We've been in it. Just the last couple. Think about what we've all been through in like 60 days. President Trump assassination, Joe Biden dropping out, the debates, all of it. Both conventions, insanity. Getting assaulted with Vivek Ramaswamy in the middle of protest, security having to like rush us out. It's been crazy. all the lives we did with the Trump kids and everything at the RNC, man, it's been wild. We've been rocking and rolling, going to south side of Chicago. Everywhere that we have been, we've taken with us Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is our cell phone of choice to take on the road into dangerous locations, into fascinating moments that you got to see live on TV, live on your screen. And we were able to broadcast Vivek smacking down Van Jones for the world to see. And then Van Jones like giving him his number and like kind of a very human and beautiful moment. It went viral. And we were the only people that were able to capture it because we were connected. We were able to roll inside of the DNC convention, and you came along with us. And we're going to do a lot more of that. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny, call 972-PATRIOT, use the offer code Benny for a free month right now. They're the only Christian conservative wireless provider, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider right now. Free month when you use the offer code Benny. Patriot Mobile, baby. Okay, I wanted to start the show off by saying we were right. We were right. And we were also not right, actually. It's been a very, very interesting week here at the program. We make predictions. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we get it wrong. We predicted that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump would be effectively where Joe Biden was after the debate next week. So in 5 days, we get a debate. All right? So we get 5 days, we get a debate. We have a prediction mechanism on this program that we like to follow. We bring on our favorite pollsters. We have a lot of them booked. But we said that Donald Trump would be beating Kamala Harris in the Nate Silver mathematical algorithmic prediction mechanism that he has that we find quite accurate based on his methodology. Some of the pollsters we have on here may disagree with us, and they're welcome to come on and argue. In fact, they did this week. But we like this Nate Silver, the prediction market, and we said that President Trump would be up into the 60s and 70s where he was after the debate with Joe Biden. And Kamala Harris would collapse down into the 30s in her percentage chance of becoming president. Now, what this model does is it takes into account all of the algorithmic necessities and curiosities of the Electoral College, and it weighs the swing state polls against each other, and it measures it out, and then it mathematically spits out who is likeliest to win the Electoral College, the popular vote, and so on. And here's what the model said as of late last night. Hot digging it down. What do we got here? President Trump has a 60% chance of winning, and Kamala Harris has crashed into the 30s. This is very similar. ALX, make sure we grab this because I want to make sure that you guys know that we were right, and then we were also wrong, but wrong in a great way. We were right because this is exactly where President Trump was against Biden. This was what caused them to pull the ripcord on Biden, to shiv him and shove him off the boat in a fishing trip. This is what caused them to have a special middle of a Sunday morning fishing trip with Joe Biden, where he becomes the fish bait. This, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly where Biden was when they dumped him. Give me that poll. I want to see that. I want to see that is because Nate Silver had Biden in the exact same spot. Now we are wrong because we said that this would happen after the debate. Well, sure enough, ladies and gentlemen, sure enough, it's happened before the debate. So what will happen next week? How bad really are things right now for the Kamala campaign? It's pretty wild, actually. The times that we are living in, it's really exciting, quite frankly. You can see here on Rasmussen polling, President Trump has now jumped above President Harris. These are national polls, so these don't even take into account swing states. The swing state polling is rocking. Polymarket having Trump 60% to 40% for Arizona in its electoral votes. There are no paths for Kamala Harris if she doesn't win Pennsylvania. And here we are, Pennsylvania. Trump up, the chances of winning. Look at these numbers. Zoom, please. Trump, 60% chance of winning Pennsylvania. This is, by the way, from a Democrat pollster. This is from a dude who's a lib. Democrat pollster. Arizona in the 70s. North Carolina in the 70s, Georgia in the 60s, Nevada in the 50s, tied, in Wisconsin and Michigan. You're cooked, baby. You're cooked. We predicted this would happen after the debate. I guess we were wrong. Here's how we sit as we head into the weekends here. And again, as we have stated, President Trump will be live for a press conference in New York City on this program. He's set to be live in about 40 minutes. So we're going to sort of give a preface of the state of the race right now and how desperate things are going to get. Because things are going to get wild here. We have a poly market with President Trump, an election forecast here. President Trump up 7 points now on Kamala Harris. Remember, Kamala Harris flipped the poly market polling, and Trump up 53 to 46. This is wild. So this is what they show. Here they show Kamala Harris keeping Wisconsin and Michigan, and President Trump winning effectively all the other swing states. This is what you have. Hey, Klein, I'm on this one, buddy. And producers, please roll with me here because we're gonna be rolling up the top of the show. So we have the same position, virtually the same position. Kamala has a little bit lower to go. 53-46. This is what it looks like right now. Are you telling me? You're telling me, and every leaked report out of the Kamala camp is that there is a 9-alarm fire going on right now. People are screaming at each other, and that they are melting down, that they are having a full-on panic attack. And it lends into my favorite theory, because there's no such thing as a conspiracy theory. Actually, there's just theories, okay? Some of them are unproven. My favorite theory that Kamala's job is actually not to win. That Kamala was just there. They knew she wasn't going to win. That Trump is going to walk into that office, and catch-22 there is that Trump does only have a single term, right? So it's time to get organized. It's time to get locked up. Time to get locked and loaded. Locked in. Locked up is exactly what they'd like to do to Trump. We're going to talk about that because that's the goal here today. That's what Julie Kelly's going to join the show and talk about because she was in the courtroom yesterday. President Trump in court this morning. And so here, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very, very crucial 60 days. What rabbits will they pull out of their hats? What will we see during the debate? Because I don't think this is getting any better. And here's what Nate Silver's forecast showed right before they dumped Biden. It showed a 65-33% electoral college probability. So you can see here that the probability is nearing the Biden levels. We predicted this. At the beginning of the week, and here we are. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Here we are looking at a 33 to 65. This is where Biden was. This is how bad it was going for Joe and how good it was going for Trump. And they decided to nuke the guy. And so Kamala is going that direction. What are they going to do? They're going to pull Kamala. They're going to try and shove her. They're going to try and shove Michelle in. I'm telling you, I want to say it right here because I want the prediction to be locked in. Here we go. I think they're going to make Joe resign. I've said it before. I'm happy to say it again. I'll stand up and defend this. They're going to make Joe resign. That's what they're going to do. And we're going to have a situation where Kamala Harris gets anointed, right? DEI princess president. DEI Barbie, I think is what Jordan Peterson called her. And she's going to get opportunity to get her a new honeymoon, okay? That's what I think they're going to do because there's no way Kamala can bring herself back from the brink. Put it at the poly market again. There's no way that Kamala can bring herself back here on her own merit. It's not possible. The reason why we can say this with such an affect is because we have videos of Kamala Harris on the campaign trail. Kamala Harris on the campaign trail makes Hillary Clinton look like Princess Diana when she's interacting with people. I don't know how else to describe it. This is eye-wateringly cringe. This is the video they just published of Kamala Harris accepting the gift of pretzels from the serfs who serve her. Queen Kamala standing there trying to act like Elon Musk is like going to reveal some like AI robot thing that can like go around and live in your house. Like that thing, that mechanical like AI, like that is the Terminator T100 and T200 are more human than Kamala Harris in this video. This is what they released. They decided to release. This isn't a leaked video that we got on background. This is what they decided to put out. Here we go.
Give you a bag of pretzels to take back.
Give me a bag of pretzels to give Doug. Because he
great.
actually would be really upset if I did not bring him because I can tell you that he like secretly eats pretzels at night.
Does he
he's
really?
like, and I'm like, honey, you gotta slow down on the pretzels.
It's he can steal it. So just only a few.
Oh my God! Oh, he's gonna love this.
Yeah,
that's fair. I will tell him.
Thank you so
much. Oh, that's
much.
yum.
Yeah, thank you.
Yum.
Yum. Ooh. You know, we played an ad with Donald Trump that Donald Trump did for McDonald's because Donald Trump did actually work for McDonald's, unlike Kamala Harris. We played an ad and like Grimace was in it. And Grimace is more human than Kamala Harris in this video. The big, giant, purple toe. Why do you release this? How bad is it? How bad is it really? If you're releasing this video, if this is the best that you got for Kamala, yum. So like Doug hates pretzels. If this is how bad it was, so how bad is the other footage? This is what they voluntarily decided to put up today. And oh, by the way, the right and the populist movement, as it's probably better defined, is growing and coalescing. And it's very, very exciting, actually, right now. We live in a very exciting time. So here's what it looked like with Tucker Carlson, who's doing live events around the country. Tucker Carlson in Anaheim, California, last night. This is the number of people who showed up in this blue city.
The first thing I think is, man, is this state screwed up? And then the second thing I think is, you could fix it in about 20 minutes. It's not hard.
So here's another vantage point of that. I'm actually watching this video for the first time with you. Let's go.
With Bear Grylls. Bear Grylls sort of like appeared in my existence, coming out of the shadows.
Look at this.
And like I said, would you like me to come and baptize you on the 28th of April? And I sort of went, yeah, but I meant no. I would not like you to come. You know, you sort of make plans.
Look at the number of people. And these are inside of blue cities. These are inside of like blue metropolitan cities. RFK joined went on stage with Tucker Carlson last night, and the roar was just something else. Do we got that, boys? All right, boys. All right. So Vivek and Tucker Carlson went in Anaheim, California yesterday, and the sound effectively of them welcoming RFK onto the stage, you just got to hear it here. I got it right here, boys. Get it to my dogs. Here we go. We'll do it live. You know how they say? We'll do it live. All right. Got it loaded? What is the value of this moment? Why? Here we go. A little hard to hear that one. Will the other one climb, please? The reason there we go. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, typically we do have a little faster of a production here. So the reason why this is important is because we are building a movement. And what you're watching is Tucker Carlson, who's like sort of the wise old sage of the movement and very much the wise media sage of the populist movement. You're watching Tucker bringing on the new generation, a guy who's 20 years younger than him, Vivek, welcoming him onto stage with a Kennedy onto stage. Like what? Like, and all of them talking about Trump. What a world we live in. It's amazing. Okay, do we got it? Let's go.
So it's an honor to introduce Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
There we go. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so it's an exciting time. Listen, honestly, I have never been more encouraged. We are also going to be doing quite a bit of work on the road. We will be hitting the trail as well. More to be announced on that at a later date. But it's going to be all of the forces are aligning. And they're going to throw everything out at Trump, at us, at our movement to try and disenfranchise it or get it to fight with it. It's going to fail. They're going to try and throw everything they got to smear us. And we're going to take that mud. We're going to use it as war paint. It's going to be great. It's going to be exciting. We're going to take that energy. What man intends for evil, God intends for good. And we're going to go out and win. And the momentum is on our side. And it's very, very important to establish that base, because this is how you think Kamala Harris is going to. Do you think things are going to go better for her after the debate? No, it's going to get much, much worse. And this is why I think they make Biden drop out. Kamala Harris gets into office. She announces free basketballs for all Americans, and this becomes her triumph. And that's going to be their plan, right? I want it on the record so we can put a pin in it, and so that we can be right about one more thing. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, moving on. Here we go. Trump trial from Jack Smith's probe is now delayed past Election Day. Spaghetti-o. They wanted to put Trump in jail. And now the trial has been delayed. Trump trial stemming from Jack Smith's probe delayed past election. Federal Judge Tanya Chutkan, who Julie Kelly was in the same room as, and will be able to tell us all about when she joins the program soon, will not hold a trial for former President Trump, the charges stemming from special counsel Jack Smith's January 6th investigation, until after 2024 election. Chutkan held a status hearing Thursday morning in U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, in which the lawyers of Trump pleaded guilty on his behalf related to the charges from Smith's new indictment. The Supreme Court ruled that the president is immune from prosecution for official acts. In an order Thursday afternoon, Chutkan set the deadline for replies for paperwork and Trump's legal team for November 7th after the election. Trump didn't appear in the court. His lawyer pleaded not guilty. Smith was in the court Thursday morning, and Trump was in court today. This morning, we're going to hear from President Trump live momentarily. Do we have our live shot locked in?
There's nothing yet. Just the podium.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Pop that up. Let me see. I just want to. We have a live shot. I'm going to show you kind of like where Trump's going to be. We've done this before. After the guilty verdict. This is in the atrium of Trump Tower. You can always tell the gold and the marble is quite iconic. This is in the atrium of Trump Tower, and that's where the president's going to be speaking at approximately noon. Okay, so we are monitoring live, ladies and gentlemen. Jack Smith delayed again. Complete and total humiliation. Mike Davis on the program yesterday detailing how if they want to put Trump in prison, if they try and put Trump in prison, then the Supreme Court intercedes immediately and grants relief and smacks down these local prosecutors as the high court in the land. And also how Jack Smith, his days are numbered. As Donald Trump becomes an unstoppable force through the election, as we coalesce as a movement, as you can see the momentum swinging our way in every swing state poll and in the prediction markets and the smart money markets, they're going to get more desperate because they know that on day 1, noon, January 20, 2025, when President Trump swears in, that Jack Smith is going to be told to report to Guantanamo Bay or whatever. Maybe just send him on a Cuban vacation. It's like, maybe just send him down to Castro with Justin Trudeau, right? They can have family reunion. Jack Smith news, ladies and gentlemen, from yesterday. The libs are crying.
President Donald Trump will not go to trial in the nation's capital over his alleged attempts to overturn the 2020 election before the 2024 election. Lawyers representing both special counsel Jack Smith and the former president appeared in court today. The case was supposed to go to trial in March, but was put on hold after the U.S. Supreme Court ruled the president's actions, presidential official acts, are immune. The judge has yet to set a new trial date, but it won't happen before the election day.
So what would be the biggest fear for the president on the eve of a Donald Trump inaugural? The biggest fear for President Biden, for everybody who works for him, for the government apparatchiks who are currently in charge of pretty much everything in Washington, D.C., what we call the ghost in the machine, the calcified barnacles who live in the underbelly of our American government and live permanently there. And this is something that I've been a White House reporter. I've been a congressional reporter. I've lived in Washington, D.C. for 15 years, where I met my wife. I have great sources throughout the city. And it's something that you learn, and you learn it the hard way, is that the actual deep state, okay, it's not like guys, smoke-filled rooms, cigars, right, tuxedos, top hats, whatever. It's not that. What it really is it's far more it's far less cinematic, and it's far less glorified. It's actually just the government bureaucrats who got themselves, government sector union protections for their jobs, and they remain there in spite of what the American people may want, in spite of the policies that the American people may demand and the changes. They stay there forever, and they never leave. And that is your deep state, actually. It's not really the smartest people or the best people, because those people go off and work at a law firm or go move out west. It's actually the worst people, the dumbest elements of the government who behave like the barnacles on on the bottom of the ship, the calcification, the clogs in the artery. This is what constitutes the deep state, the forever bureaucracy that doesn't change, that is immovable, and that perpetuates every administration, that carries on through every administration, and can act as a artery stoppage and give a heart attack to an administration like President Trump's. They can perform an operation that actually stops the blood from flowing in what President Trump wanted to do, and you saw that again and again and again and again. Go check on Rick Grinnell's work in Washington. And so what you need is somebody to break the clog, somebody to come in who is a ruthless manager in a Trump second term, in order to ensure that he gets something, that more is done this time. I think Trump's first term was successful, but I think so much of what Trump's first term could have been was stopped by this ghost in the machine. Deep state, whatever you wish to call it. What it really is calcified government bureaucrats that never leave, that create a uniparty consensus, and our will is utterly irrelevant. It exists entirely outside of the constitutional bounds of what the government should be, and that's what needs to be broken. And President Trump, at a speech yesterday, spoke about who he wishes to break that clogged artery, Elon Musk, in a government efficiency commission. Ooh, if there are so many reasons to vote for Trump, but this is possibly the number one reason to vote for President Trump. This policy. Go.
Fourth, at the suggestion of Elon Musk, who has given me his complete and total endorsement. That's nice, 'cause he's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. It's very, very much appreciated. I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government and making recommendations for drastic reforms. We need to do it. Can't go on the way we are now. And Elon, because he's not very busy, has agreed to head that task force. Be interesting. If he has the time, it'll be a good one to do it, but he's agreed to do it. In 2022, fraud and improper payments alone cost taxpayers an estimated hundreds of billions of dollars. As the first order of business, this commission will develop an action plan to totally eliminate fraud and improper payments within 6 months. This will save trillions of dollars, trillions. It's massive. For the same service that you have right now, trillions of dollars is wasted and gone and nobody knows where it went. Further taming inflation and bringing prices way down.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news. We apologize for this. I cannot believe it. Donald Trump is speaking live right now. It is, we are up, ladies and gentlemen. This is early, approximately 25 minutes early. President Trump is out right now. We are live. Here he is with his detail. Lena Haba there.
So thank you very much, everybody, for being here. This is a long and complicated web and story, but it all goes back to the DOJ and Kamala and Sleepy Joe and all the rest of them. We have a whole rigged election system. Nobody's ever seen anything like what's happening. Now I understand. Yesterday they're bringing up Russia again, that they've done for years. Never found anything. But they should be looking at China, Iran, lots of other places. I haven't spoken to anybody from Russia in years. They know that, but it's a scam. But it all goes back to the DOJ because we had a trial today. It's an appeal of a ridiculous verdict of a woman I have never met. I don't know. I have no idea who she is. She wrote a book and she made a ridiculous story up. She put it in her book, and we're now appealing the decision. We had an extremely hostile judge appointed by Clinton, very good friends of Clinton. I guess he presided over the marriage ceremony of one of the lawyers on the case against us. And it's very sad. Judge Lewis Kaplan, angry man. He was so angry. I went to the trial. I've been in a lot of litigation over the years. I've never seen such anger, or wanted to throw one of our attorneys in jail, who threatened her with jail. Nobody's ever seen anything like it over nothing. I've never seen such anger, but all of our judges, I mean, we had a brilliant judge, and I think a very fair judge in Florida. I think we have another judge who's very fair. I just ask for fair. I don't want anything different from anybody else. I just ask for fairness. We have another judge or a couple of judges that I think are fair. But then we have other judges that I think the whole thing is, I think the system is a disgrace. The case that we met on today, and then we're going to talk about job numbers, which are horrible, by the way, horrible, like really bad. And you know that. I'm sure you won't report on it, but the job numbers are terrible. We're going to talk about the appeal today. We had a great appellate lawyer go down representing us. And I think John did a very good job. You have a matter of minutes to speak. It's a very complex thing because it was a setup, a rigged deal. They had two witnesses. And before I start, I have no idea who this woman is. They have a picture from, they say, about 40 years ago, a picture. And the picture depicts her and her husband on a celebrity line where I was the celebrity. I was been a celebrity for a long time. And they were shaking my hands along with hundreds of other people. Nobody even knows where it is. The problem is she doesn't know the date of this incident. She doesn't know when. She doesn't know, was it in the 90s? Could it have been further than that? She has no idea when. And people do that because you don't want to give a specific date, and then you find out that Trump or whoever it was in Europe. So they tend to do that. They take long periods so that this way, hopefully he was in New York at that time. But this is a disgraceful case, and disgraceful in particular because it's about a former president of the United States who is now leading in the polls to be the president again. And this is being worked with the DOJ, Department of Justice, as are all of these cases. They all come out. Atlanta, Fani, that is all Department of Justice. Nobody knew that. The case with Judge Engoron, the most overturned judge in the state, that is very close because they sent their team from the DOJ to help him. The district attorney, Alvin Bragg, that was all worked with. Again, they sent a top operative from the department, from the DOJ Department of, I call it the Department of Injustice, because they're using the Department of Justice to rig the campaign. These cases are disgraceful. Now, they're brought, for the most part, in front of very hostile areas where Republicans get 3 or 4%, like downtown Manhattan, in front of very hostile judges, like hostile like you wouldn't believe. Judge Mershon, Judge Engoron, and Judge Kaplan, all of them hostile areas and very, very hostile judges. I've never seen anything like it. And very bad thing in this case, New York, very bad thing for New York. Businesses won't come to New York because of what took place with Judge Engoron. I can tell you that, and probably the rest of them also. But this case involved a woman who wrote a book, and I guess she said something in the book. That's when I first heard about it. I first heard about it in the White House. And of course, I denied the story because it's not true. I have no idea who the woman is, and I never met her. Now, I don't know about a picture that was taken 40 years ago with her husband on a celebrity line, so I don't think that counts. But as far as I know, I never met her. I never touched her. I would have had no interest in meeting her in any way, shape, or form. Her husband was a news anchor, actually, John Johnson, a very nice guy. She called him horrible things. We weren't allowed to say that in the trial. She said horrible things about him. I guess they're since divorced. He's a very nice guy, African-American, and she said very bad things. We weren't allowed to use that in the trial, which surprised a lot of people. But she made up a story and fabricated 100% that I attacked her at Bergdorf Goodman. You know, it's very interesting. I don't think they were allowed to use this either. Her favorite show is Law and Order. And there's a almost exact story as her story in Law and Order about being attacked in the dressing room of a department store. I don't know if they used the name of the store, but that's her favorite show, Law and Order. She said that. And anyway, this evolved into a defamation case against me because I disputed her words because I told the truth. We were called. I was in the White House and I said, no, it never happened. I didn't even know what they were talking about. This was, I think I was in the Oval Office. Sir, do you know anything about this? And this had to do with a book. And she had a few pages in a book making this claim. By the way, there was never a claim. There was never a police report. There was never anything mentioned. There was never publicity 30 or 40 years ago, whenever it took place. Nobody knows. She doesn't know when it took place. When did it take place? She has no idea. She thinks it was in the 1990s. She thinks it was in the 1990s. And the judge, we had 2 trials. We asked for a consolidation. He said no. The reason he said no is he'd rather have double the publicity because that's bad for me. Very bad, because I'm running for president. And this is not the kind of publicity you like. And whether it's true or not, it's horrible. And in this case, it's so false. It's a made-up, fabricated story by somebody, I think, initially just looking to promote a book and When they called me, I denied the story. I got sued essentially for defamation because I'm denying a story where I'm right. I should be suing her for defamation. So that's where it is. Now, there were two witnesses. One is a woman who's followed me for years. She said in 1979, I was in an airplane with her, commercial flight, and we became very intimate. I just sat down. I think I had the book, The Art of the Deal. I was famous then, too. I've been famous for a long time. And we're sitting in first class, according to her. Never happened, by the way. Totally made up story. She's a Clinton person, too, by the way, big Clinton person. She made up the story. And so many years ago, and I think it would be 1979. One of my many people behind me could correct it, but I think she said 1979. That's a long time ago. And I sat down. I believe I had some pretty big success then, and I was being talked about a lot. Maybe The Art of the Deal was out, sometime after that. I'm not sure, but I was well known. And passengers are coming into the plane. And she said, I was making out with her. And then after 15 minutes, and then she changed her story a couple of times. Maybe it was quicker. That I grabbed her at a certain part, and that was when she had enough. Now, so think of the impracticality of this. I'm famous. I'm in a plane. People are coming into the plane. And I'm looking at a woman, and I grab her, and I start kissing her and making out with her. What are the chances of that happening? What are the chances? And frankly, I know you're going to say it's a terrible thing to say, but it couldn't have happened. It didn't happen. And she would not have been the chosen one. She would not have been the chosen one. She has gone around for years saying the story. Everywhere I go, she says this story. And it's a total lie. Now, I assume she'll sue me now for defamation, like I got sued by E. Jean Carroll, who interestingly said she's been hurt, damaged, but she's made more money since she did this than she ever made in her life. She gets paid a lot of money to go talk bad things about me. So remember this whole thing started along with just about every other case I'm involved with the political campaign of Harris, and who's having a bad time because she can't talk, of Harris and Joe Biden. This was election interference. It all is. It's all fabricated, but fabricated in front of very friendly judges for them and in very friendly areas for them. If you get a jury, it's very hard to win in a jury where you have 3 or 4 or 5% Republican votes. Very, very tough, actually. Two witnesses. One is named Jessica Leeds. So she was up again. She can't get rid of her. She was up. She said, I was in an airplane doing that. A couple of things. You have an armrest in planes back in those days. Oh, by the way, she didn't know anything about the flight, where we were going. Where I was in very few flights. I was a New York guy building New York buildings. I was in very few airplanes, I will tell you, in those days. 1979, I think. It's a long time ago. But you had the armrest. And in the old days, they didn't move. Okay. But she said she then got out and she went to the back of the plane. And that was the end of the story, I think. And this story has followed me for years. But just to finish with her, Jessica Leeds, no police reports, no witnesses, no corroboration of any kind. No criminal suggestions, no nothing. Then you have another one, and this one is a writer for People magazine, who I actually thought was very nice. She came to Mar-a-Lago, and she wrote the most beautiful story you've ever seen. It was a love story about Melania and myself, a love story in People magazine. And that was it. It was a cover, I think, but it was a beautiful story. Everybody would love to have that marriage. She said the nicest things about me, about Melania. You have the story. I mean, you can read the story. And her name was whoever. Let's see. Her name was who? Swornoff. Yeah. I don't have it. Whatever her name was. I don't know the lady, so perhaps it's much better that way, but I really don't know the lady. So she wrote this beautiful story. And about, I don't know, years later, no police reports, no anything. Years later, the same person they called up, did you attack at Mar-a-Lago this woman, this writer, whatever her name is? And she was a witness in a case. Her and Leeds were the two witnesses, only two witnesses. Did you attack her? I said, who is she? And they said, she writes for People magazine. I said, I don't know anything about the lady. If I had a story long ago, years before, about People, but it was a very nice story. So I don't know. It has to be made up because I don't know what you're talking about. It turned out that the same lady that wrote this beautiful story years later said I attacked her. Now, think of this. Oh, and she said the butler knew everything. The old expression, the butler did it, right? Very famous in crime stories. Well, the butler was Tony Senecal, worked for me for a long time. He was retired at that time. That was years later. He retired. He was retired when this hoax came out. And what happened is he totally confirmed my story. And he didn't even work for me anymore. He passed away a couple of years ago, a good man. He said, the woman was crazy. It never happened. I was the one that served her whatever she was drinking. And I was there. And nothing ever happened. But you don't need the butler. All you have to do is read the story. Think of this. A woman comes into Mar-a-Lago, interviews me about a love story about my wife and myself. And during that interview, I attacked her and pushed her up against the wall violently. Okay? And then she leaves and she writes a perfect story. A perfect story. She doesn't mention the event. Again, there's nothing on file at all. Zero. There was no complaints. There were no complaints to People magazine. There was no witness. There was nothing. Yeah, well, there was a witness, the butler, and he's already said everything. He's already told the story. Because this story, likewise, like Leeds, this story has followed me around. I could go through many, many other stories outside of this. You know, it's very funny. When you're rich and famous, you get a lot of people come up with a lot of stories. But you're writers, and some of you are legitimate writers, and some of you aren't. Some of you are fake news, and some of you are real news. But put yourself in my position. I'm running for president, and I have all these cases all of a sudden come out. And they're fake cases, and they report back to DOJ. And you have Lisa Monaco, one of the people at DOJ who I saw the other day talking about the Russia hoax. And yet she's friends with Andrew Weissman and that whole group and crew, who should be sued, by the way, because they're not a charity. All they are is a political organization that goes after Trump for the last 8 years. I mean, he's a sick person that runs that too. But Lisa Monaco is in the Department of Justice, but she's a Andrew Weissman person who's been after me for years. So far, he's failed. And he's having a heart attack because I'm leading in the polls. I guess if you look at the Nate Silver, very respected guy. I don't know him, but he has me up by a lot. So let's say we're leading, or let's say we're tied, or let's say what difference. I'm in the race. It's between two people, but I think we're leading by a lot because the opponent refuses to do an interview because she can't talk. And they're not going to skate through it. I'm not going to have a Marxist president. The people are getting it. So we go down to court today to talk about this case is a scam. And all I can say is that I never met the woman other than this picture, which could have been AI generated. I don't know. Showed up out of nowhere, but it's fine. Nice picture with her husband, and lots of other people are online. It's a celebrity line. But never met her, never touched her, never had anything to do with her. The other thing is I was very famous then. If I would have walked into Bergdorf Goodman, the department store that she said, everybody would have said, oh, there's Trump. And it would have been at that time on page 6. Page 6 was the equivalent of today's internet. And it would have been a big story if I would have walked into that store, gone into a dressing room, and supposedly, you know what, to her. Never happened. Never happened. Total phony story. And I feel sad that I have to come up here and explain it. I have all this legal talent, but legal talent cannot overcome rigged judges. They can't overcome a 4% Republican area. And I'm disappointed in my legal talent, I'll be honest with you. They're good. They're good people. They're talented people. Today at the trial, they didn't mention the dress. So the Monica Lewinsky type dress was a big part of the trial. Big part of the trial. I said, why didn't you mention that? And I heard there was a dress involved. And I wasn't frightened at all because I did nothing with her. Never touched this woman, saw this woman, had no idea who she was. But they have a dress, sir. I said, so what? Well, sir, it's very, sir. They used that dress to try and intimidate me. They used that dress with the public. That dress was such a famous dress. It was Monica Lewinsky, part 2, the dress. And the judge wanted it for trial. And it was going to go into trial. And then they found out there was nothing on the dress, which I knew. And then the judge wouldn't allow it to be used. So they used it as a cudgel. They used it as a hammer over my head. And then the judge, when he heard that it showed totally negative, the judge wouldn't allow us to use it at trial. Then there was an Anderson Cooper interview where she said essentially, no, he didn't rape me. She was selling her book. She wrote a book. The book would have been a total failure, probably was anyway, although probably sold more recently. Again, this is a woman that wasn't doing well until she came out with this stuff about me. And that's happened to others too, by the way. She's not the only one. But they have the Anderson Cooper tape. And in the Anderson Cooper tape, it's an interview of her. And Cooper says something to the effect, did he rape you? Did he rape you? He was so happy. Oh, did he rape you? And she gave a very good answer for me, but a bad answer for CNN, for Anderson. And he said, we're going to commercial break right now. We're going. Then she came back from commercial break and she was much more hostile. But this man wouldn't let us use the tape or the proper questions having to do with the tape. Wouldn't let us. The Judge Kaplan wouldn't let it be used. We wanted to get the outtakes. In other words, what did Anderson Cooper talk to her about during that intermission for a commercial that he called for immediately? Where do you see this? I mean, some of you have seen it, some of you haven't. We're going to commercial break right now. And so what happened is we weren't able to use it. The other thing is we had not one trial, we had 2 trials. Nobody understands why. We asked for a consolidation. And I wanted to show up to the trial, to the first trial. My lawyer, who's not up here, not with us any longer, sir, you should not show up. You're the former president or the president. I don't even know when the trial was, but You're the president of the United States, sir. This is beneath you. I've got this 100%. The dress is negative, but he wasn't able to use it. Sir, it's beneath you to show up. I said, but wouldn't that be bad for a jury? Wouldn't that be sort of bad for a jury if I don't show up? He said, sir, you don't have to show up. I've got this. You shouldn't do it. It's beneath you. It's beneath the office of the president. I understood what he meant by that. And so I didn't show up. And I was found guilty of something that I didn't do with a woman that I have never seen, touched, or in any way was involved with, nor would I want to be. I would not want to be. My people say, please don't say that. I would not want to be involved with her. And that's where we are. So we're appealing it. And people would say it's not a friendly panel based on the appointments, but you'll look that up yourself. But I hope they understand this is the office of the President of the United States, and there has to be fairness shown. Our court system is looking so bad. If you're a Democrat, these are all Democrat-appointed people. Biden, Clinton, I think others. 3 people. They seem very good today, and I mean, they seem absolutely fine, but I've read and I've heard it's not a friendly panel, but I wasn't surprised because I don't get friendly panels. I don't get friendly panels. But where we've had fair judges, where we've had brilliant judges, frankly, I don't know the judge in Florida, Judge Cannon, don't know her at all. But I think she's a brilliant woman. I think she handled a scam. It's a scam case. That's the documents case. That's the case where Biden, who had 10 times more documents, took all this stuff for years, 50 years, and he was exonerated. Of course, they said he was incompetent, so he wasn't fit. So he was exonerated based on that. But me, I don't get exonerated so easily. And I had a thing called the Presidential Records Act, which exonerates me. But we won that trial, and the other side plays the ref. Crew and Weissman and all these people. And again, Lisa Monaco should not be involved in this because she's been after Trump for years, and now she's like the second person at the DOJ. But she's with all these people. And they're playing the ref, and they say terrible things about judges. They do it with the Supreme Court justices because they think they're going to intimidate them. I think it should be illegal. That's what the DOJ should look into, the legality of these people taking a brilliant judge and demeaning her, and taking other people that are fair and solid and demeaning them. It's called playing the ref. Nobody did it better than the late, great Bobby Knight basketball coach. He would scream at those refs and everything. They'd say, Bobby, you're not going to get the decision overturned. Yep, but the next one I will. And he was right. He was a great basketball coach. Last coach to have an undefeated season. The last coach in basketball to have it many years ago. He also endorsed me, but he played the ref. These people are playing the ref when they are allowed to call for recusal, impeachment of a judge because they're not getting their way. And for some reason, the other side doesn't do that. They don't do that. The other side is much softer. Republicans play it a lot softer, but they play it legitimately. So I'm going to ask, if I might, Will Scharf to come up, just say a couple of words about what took place today. One of our attorneys working on this it's a ridiculous case. Remember, it never happened. It was made up for political reasons. And the DOJ is behind everything. Every one of these cases. It's political interference. It's a witch hunt, just like the fake Russia scam was a witch hunt. And just like they want to start that scam all over again by announcing that Russia, we're talking about. And you know what they do when they do that? They intimidate people from having a fair election. They intimidate poll workers from speaking up when they see crooked things take place in the election. And it's a disgrace. Our country's in serious trouble. Our judicial system is in very serious trouble. Will, please come up. Thank you.
Good morning, y'all. My name is Will Scharf. I'm one of President Trump's attorneys. Today, we presented oral argument before the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit in one of two cases brought against President Trump by E. Jean Carroll. Now, it's really important to remember that E. Jean Carroll's story at its heart is an utterly implausible he said, she said story. There is no corroboration for anything she has ever claimed about President Trump. There are no corroborating witnesses. As President Trump alluded to, there is not confirmatory DNA. No police report was filed at the time of this alleged incident. She was unable to identify when this incident occurred until quite recently. No surveillance evidence or witnesses have ever been found or come forward confirming any aspect of E. Jean Carroll's story. In light of that, in light of the utter implausibility of the story that E. Jean Carroll was attempting to sell to the jury in this case, her attorneys introduced evidence that should have never seen the inside of a courtroom. Utterly insane efforts to introduce propensity witnesses, Jessica Leeds and Natasha Stoynoff, most notably, in an unfair and improper effort to buttress E. Jean Carroll's failed attempt to assault President Trump. Jessica Leeds' story is instructive here. This is a woman who claims that in the middle of a crowded airliner in 1979, President Trump assaulted her. Leeds has never been able to identify where this plane departed from, where it went to, the date of the flight in question, making our efforts to disprove her testimony extremely difficult. Under the federal rules of evidence, this story should have never been allowed to be presented to the jury in this case. The same is true of Natasha Stoynoff's story, which again lacks any indicia of reliability, any sort of credibility, any sort of confirmatory testimony from other witnesses, or anything else that would make you believe that this actually happened. So on the one hand, you have a judge who allowed in this improper propensity evidence that should not have been allowed in. In our view, that polluted the jury's deliberations in this case. That presented a story to the jury of a series of a pattern of conduct that the jury should not have been considering. And we think that absent that propensity evidence, no fair jury could have reached the verdict that was reached in this case. And as a result, we believe that this verdict needs to be overturned. But there's more than that. In addition to this improper propensity evidence, President Trump and his trial team were prevented from cross-examining E. Jean Carroll and other witnesses on crucial issues in particular relating to political coordination and the political motivation behind this entire lawsuit. This is a lawsuit that was instigated in large part by George Conway, a longtime political foe and adversary of President Trump. This is a lawsuit that was funded by Reid Hoffman, a key political ally of the Biden-Harris administration and a major Democrat donor. We were limited in the evidence we were allowed to present at trial about these crucial facts. We were prevented from cross-examining E. Jean Carroll on aspects of that dynamic that underlies this entire lawsuit. And that, too, unfairly corrupted the jury's deliberations in this case and requires reversal of the jury verdict. I think this political coordination point is particularly important, though. It's important to emphasize because what we have seen in the last few years is a weaponization by the Biden administration and by their political allies of our legal system and of our courts to unlawfully, unconstitutionally interfere with President Trump's core First Amendment right to run for president. That is a right guaranteed to him by the Constitution. That is the right that his political opponents are attempting to strip away from him. We have seen this in case after case after case where unfair political motives have underlay what should be serious legal proceedings. And I think when you look at this situation in toto, when you look at what the left, when you look at what the Biden-Harris administration is attempting to do to President Trump, this is insane. This is an absolute abuse of our legal system. It's an absolute abuse of the rule of law. It should be deeply offensive, not just to political supporters of President Trump, but to each and every American. With respect to today's appeal, we are hopeful that the Second Circuit understands what's at stake here. We are hopeful that the Second Circuit understands what occurred during this trial. which was an improper use of evidence to buttress E. Jean Carroll's entirely meritless claims on the one hand, and an improper exclusion of evidence that would have informed the jury about the true motivation behind this lawsuit, and that we believe would have resulted in a very different verdict. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I've done this one too many times.
Here we go.
Actually, too many times for the last 3.5 years while President Trump has been trying to fight to get this country back. And I want to speak to the American women, and I want to speak to the people that need to get out and vote on November 5th. I have sat with President Trump for years now, while he has been targeted with lies and with judges, AGs, and DAs who have specifically run in this city and others on getting Trump. The Trump administration will fix this problem. We will stop Kamala Harris's regime, because she was there, let's not forget that, and she still is, of using officials from the White House, putting them in DA's offices, in AG's offices, and attacking your political opponent. And this country deserves better than this. We do. We should not be sitting here at a press conference talking about this. We did this in 2016, and every woman had no reports. They come out when it's election time. And as a woman who has stood with President Trump, who has spent extensive time with President Trump and with his beautiful family, I will tell you, that is not President Trump. And I completely am disgusted by what I have seen happen to this person, his family, and the Trump organization that we stand in right now. You must vote Donald Trump back in, because as an attorney, as a woman, as a mother, our future of this country depends on it, and we need to stop this from happening. The DOJ is supposed to help our country and protect us, not attack us, because you cannot win in the polls. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both. And
Woo!
just in finishing,
on fire.
We have numerous other trials that are also very much in coordination with the DOJ. They actually took just about their top person and they put them into the offices of the Attorney General of New York, and then also the office of the DA Bragg's office, to make sure the case is brought viciously against their political opponent. And it's a shame. It's a shame. Businesses will not come to New York because of it. They actually, in the case of Engoron, they used a consumer frauds case, never used before for a thing like this. And not only were my numbers correct, and again, this was a generality. All you need is a general, but I had really good numbers, but they were very conservative, very much on the low side. And the judge knew that. And the judge ruled a fine against me, the likes of which has never even been heard of. Businesses will never come to this state as long as that is able to be held up, because we won that trial so conclusively. We had an expert witness said that President Trump's financial, this was an expert witness from the Stern School of Business, one of the most highly respected people in the country, as an expert witness. He said, to the best of my remembering, it's a big statement, but he said, this is perhaps the best financial statement I've ever seen. But the judge made me pay like a $400 million fine. This is a consumer fraud statement. Think of it. Consumer frauds case that they made it in. The judge refused to give it over to the commercial division where they could understand things, and they would have dismissed it immediately because this case had no merit whatsoever. The judge wanted to settle the case for a very much smaller amount. And I said, I'm not going to settle. I didn't do anything wrong. But he would have settled the case for a much smaller amount. He wanted to settle it for a much more. We had numerous meetings in his office for a fraction of the number that he gave. That was one of the interesting things. I figured that the worst that you could do is what he wanted to settle for, which was a very small number by comparison. And then he just came out with this number. This was a coordination with the DOJ. And the other case that you know about and you've been hearing about, which is same kind of a thing, also in coordination, is the Bragg case. And they actually wanted to put them together in New York. They wanted to put the DA case together with the Attorney General case, but they both wanted credit. They couldn't understand, they both wanted credit, so they had their own cases. And it's very corrupt in New York, and very, very corrupt. It's a very corrupt place and doing very badly. But when people see what happened, and when they see, I've had so many calls from business people saying, this is just terrible. Today, there was a story about somebody in Southern District who's highly respected, knocking the hell out of both of those cases, say it's an embarrassment they were allowed to be brought. And I'm going to write out a list of things from Alan Dershowitz, Andrew McCarthy, Greg Jarrett, some of the greatest people, all legal scholars, great people, Jonathan Turley, like 10 highly respected, the most highly respected people that quote Calabrese, Judge Calabrese, that quote on cases. And shockingly, they can't even believe it. They said this case should not have been allowed to be brought. And that's about pretty much both cases, but it's about the case that we have in front of Judge Merchan. That case is a disgrace. Should have never been allowed. I did nothing wrong. And he took a non-existent, expired, long expired by the statute limitations, misdemeanor. He made it into 34 or something more than that counts of felony. Nobody can even believe it. Over nothing. And if you look at that case, he wouldn't allow it. That whole thing was done by an attorney. I had nothing to do with it. That was done by an attorney, a sleazebag named Michael Cohen. And he did the whole thing. And you're allowed to have reliance on attorney. It's called reliance on attorney. You have a reliance on attorney. Attorney's allowed to do things. And all it was is a non-disclosure agreement with somebody that said nothing happened, by the way. I might add that. If you don't mind, I'll add that. We have a statement, nothing happened. And he got a non-disclosure agreement. He did it on his own. And this judge refused to allow us to use that as a defense, the attorney-client defense, which is very standard. Other people have never heard that you're not allowed to use it. But he's the one that did it because I was running for president and running the country. He's the one that did it. So all of these cases are a disgrace. But the case that we had today downtown, I wish we could have mentioned the dress. Again, got the idea from Monica Lewinsky, but it was negative, wasn't allowed to be used. I wish we could have mentioned many of the other things, and I certainly wish we could have gone to CNN and gotten the outtakes, what's called the outtakes. What did Anderson Cooper tell her during the commercial? I'd love to find that out. So that's where we are. We have a very corrupt system of laws, but in that system, we have some very good judges also. And I think in the end, the good judges will prevail. And I hope Democrat-appointed judges can see a scam like this, where somebody just makes up a story, probably out of Law and Order. I don't know. She made it up out of somewhere, but check out the Law and Order episode that we're talking about. Make up a story, and I end up getting sued. And by the way, the punishment is like $89 million and wouldn't have two cases. It should have been one case. But two cases is better because you get double bad publicity. We asked the judge, could you consolidate the cases? Same case. And he refused to do so. He wanted two cases. So two cases, two sets of lawyers, two everything. It's really, really very disgraceful. Let me talk about job numbers because, as you know, they just came out and they're a basic disaster. They are really bad. You had numbers that are shocking. Native-born Americans We lost 1.3 million jobs, while foreign-born Americans were able to take all of those jobs. So foreigners coming in illegally, largely illegally, into our country, took the jobs of native-born Americans. And I've been telling you that's what's going to happen, because we have millions and millions of people pouring into our country, many from prisons and jails and mental institutions and insane asylums. Traffickers, human traffickers, women traffickers, sex traffickers, which, by the way, that's the kind of thing that people should be looking at, because it's horrible. And it's turning out that migrant crime is far worse than any crime that we've ever experienced. If you look at Aurora, Colorado, they're taking over the place. They took over buildings, and this is just the beginning. You haven't seen anything yet. You haven't seen any. They've allowed well over 20 million people, in my opinion. The other people say, well, it's only 13. No, it's much more than 20. I think it's much more than 20. Our country is being invaded because of incompetent people like Kamala that doesn't want to do one interview. She does one softball interview with CNN. Couldn't have been nicer. Dana Bash, you know what? I gained respect for Dana Bash and for Jake Tapper, because in my interview with Sleepy Joe, I thought they were very fair, actually. I was surprised. They were very fair. I'm going into very hostile territory shortly on a debate with ABC, George Slopadopoulos and that group. And ABC, I think, is the worst of everybody. I think they're the worst. They're the nastiest. They're as bad as you can be. They're worse than NBC, which is saying a lot. And we have something coming. And the reason I'm doing it is because that's the only one that she would do it with, because her best friend is the head of ABC or ABC News, and her husband's best friend is married to that one. So, and Donna Brazile is there. You remember the famous Donna Brazile? She gave Hillary Clinton the questions. You remember that? That was a little embarrassing. She got fired, I assume, for that. But now she's working at ABC. So I said, I'll do it anyway, because even if she knows the answers and knows the questions, I don't think she'll be very good. And this is not what our country wants. And I feel I have an obligation to do it. And she'd never stand up here like this and give a news conference and speak about what's happening with the weaponization of our justice system. This is the weaponization of justice at a level that nobody's ever seen in this country before. We've never seen it. You see it in third world countries, you see it in banana republics, but you don't see it in the United States of America. And it's a very sad thing. And I think I'm doing a great service by having gone through it and revealing it, because, you know, it came out with a indictment from the district attorney, which again, just revealed today. And I hope you're going to do a story, because it's a big story. The Southern District of New York was, and this is a very highly respected group of people. He said it was a disgrace that that case was brought. It was a disgrace that the case was brought in front of Mershon. The case is a disgrace. Should have never been brought. Should have never been brought. And the case in front of Judge Engoron, just in terms of the case itself, we had 4 or 5 overturns in the appellate division. I only hope the appellate division, for the good of New York, otherwise you just say, God save the state. For the good of New York, I hope that the appellate division will do what's right on that case, because that case was a scam. But every single one of these cases that I'm mentioning, they're all hoaxes and scams. No different than Russia, Ukraine, the impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, all these things that we won. We won them all. But it takes time, it takes effort. And they're at it again. But this time, what they're doing is they're hitting us as hard as possible. You know, it's very interesting. It just brings to light the lawyer on the hoax that we're talking about now, having to do with E. Jean Carroll. She said, the way to defeat Trump is go after him civilly as often as possible, make his life miserable, sue him all the time, keep him in court, and let him spend a fortune. That's the lawyer I have in the E. Jean Carroll case. And that's exactly what they've done. The only thing I can say that's good about it is the public understands. And my poll numbers, I believe, are higher now than they would have been without it, because the public understands it's a hoax, it's a scam, it's a political witch hunt. And some of you should be ashamed of yourselves. Thank you very much, everybody.
Right.
Mr. President.
Is Trump going to answer questions? Let's just see. Looks like they got him. We got volume up. Can we hear? Let's hear. You never know. You never know. The golden elevators. So President Trump defending himself against lawfare. I mean, it's a day that ends in Y, and it's an important. It seems like we have been in this Groundhog Day for since the end of time, since the beginning of time, end of time. Time is a flat circle. President Trump there inside of the inside of Trump Tower, where he shouldn't be. We can say that confidently. President Trump has a constitutional right to run for president. Alina Habba, very, very strong there. Trump's lawyer, very, very strong there. He has a constitutional right to run for president. The people selected him. They didn't select Kamala Harris. Nobody voted for Kamala Harris. She is an illegitimate candidate. Kamala Harris is allowed not only the freedom to run and go wherever she wants to go, which of course is never in front of a live TV camera or a reporter or just an American citizen talking to her. We played you the absolute cringe Force One clip of Kamala Harris earlier in the program. And it's like, really, I mean, it's very hard to watch. Do we still have that? Let's pop that up. This is why. So this is Kamala Harris.
To give you a bag of pretzels to take back.
Give me a bag of pretzels to give Doug, because he actually would be really upset if I did not bring him because I can tell you that he secretly eats pretzels at night.
Does
and
he
he's
really?
like, and I'm like, honey, you got to slow down on the pretzels.
It's a resealable he can seal it. So just only a few.
Oh my God! Oh, he's gonna love this.
Yeah,
That's very. I will tell him.
Thank you so
Oh, that's
much.
yum.
Yeah, thank you.
Yum.
So this is what happens when you put and this is the clip they shared. They were proud of that. They were proud of that interaction. Yeah, I'm saying pretzels one night. Donald Trump just did 60 minutes, close to it, 45 minutes straight, without a note, and just off the top of his head, talking in depth about all of these cases against him. Kamala Harris is free to wobble around a pretzel factory. Donald Trump has a constitutional right to run for president. He's an actual legitimate candidate. Kamala Harris is not a legitimate candidate. Nobody voted for Kamala Harris. She's fake. She's the antithesis of a democratic process. She's the inverse of that. She's the polar negative. She's a selected candidate that nobody voted for. Democrats strangled to death with a pillow over its face, democracy, upon shoving Joe Biden as soon as he was inconvenient out of office. And trust me, mark my words, they'll do it again. They're going to do it to Joe Biden and make Kamala Harris president. I think this will be a very, very solid bet to make. They'll shove him out of office, and then they'll install Kamala in so they get their DEI Barbie princess moment, and they get their DEI Barbie princess president. They're probably going to come out with one. Mattel. I'm not sure if Mattel watches, but they probably will. They'll make a movie about it. Kamala Harris will get to pass she'll get one executive order. Every American gets a free basketball, right? Something like that. Every American gets a free online training course on Venn diagrams. Kamala Harris will get that moment, and then they'll try and infuse once more the running corpse that is the Democrat Party in the 2024 election. Meanwhile, attempting to lock Donald Trump down as rigidly as possible inside of lawfare. Now, somebody who is in the court, Donald Trump in the courts day and night, I mean, imagine if it was a fair race and Donald Trump had been able to spend months campaigning instead of months in courthouses. Somebody who's regularly in the courthouses for you and for me. Somebody who actually goes there, does the work, and delivers true, raw, and quite frankly, deeply emotive information from these courthouse appearances, including how angry the judges are, the bulging veins, the sweatiness, the creepiness of the people going after President Trump. Is the great Julie Kelly, who joins the program live now. I only bring this up because of your it's so fun. I mean, it's really so fun. I hope that Jay Bratt gets sentenced to be your butler at some point. And can yeah, I mean, that's a Seinfeld episode, right? You get sentenced to be the butler. I just, that and your Tanya Chutkan descriptions, Julie, from yesterday. What a day in the court. You were there. Please tell us all about it.
So I just have to say, you're right. Emotive is a nice word of putting how I feel, not just as a reporter or a commentator, but an American citizen watching what is happening to Donald Trump, knowing that he is simply, as he has always said, they're coming after you, not just me. But this coordinated, destructive campaign. And sitting in a courthouse yesterday with Jack Smith and his team of prosecutors who we're paying for, Benny. By the way, Jack Smith has spent at least $35 million since he was appointed in November of 2022.
Yes.
Through just March of this year. I am estimating the total that the Department of Justice and other federal agencies have spent since Joe Biden took the White House will exceed $100 million. To go at, that's just federal monies to go after Donald Trump. And to sit and watch Judge Tanya Chutkan, keep in mind the Supreme Court ruling and immunity was directed at her. Not only did they reverse her garbage opinion related to presidential immunity that she filed last December, Chief Justice Roberts repeatedly knocked Judge Chutkan for not doing this serious deliberative work that needed to be done before she reached her decision about immunity. So she flew into that courtroom yesterday. She had a neck scarf on. You know, the whole regime media is there. Jack Smith and his team is there. She took the podium. She was like, ready for my cameo. And that's exactly what she did. It's not even clear that she read the immunity order because she misrepresented it numerous times. But what she eventually did, she sparred repeatedly with John Lauro, Trump's defense attorney, in a very vindictive, vicious way. She didn't have any of that for Jack Smith's prosecutors, Tom Windham and Molly Gaston, reserved all of it for John Lauro. We need cameras in the courtroom, Benny, because the American people should see how Judge Chutkan conducts herself. She's rolling her eyes. She is smirking. She's making snide comments on the side to get laughter from the Trump-hating crowd in her courtroom. She's holding up her hand. She was crossing her arms at one point. This is not how we expect federal judges in this very serious case to conduct themselves with their own body language. That doesn't even touch upon what she said, which we can talk about. But I stepped away from there probably as infuriated and sickened as I've been, and woke up today with more revelations about what she did in her order yesterday. We could talk about what that means.
Yeah, please. I just wanted to put up as a reference the Jack Smith $35 million from Forbes here reporting. So this is breaking as of this morning. I'm glad that you touched on that. So moving on to what the government and the American people are getting for this $35 million. You saw it in person. You were there to see the glorious beard of Jack Smith yesterday. Can you please describe what went on in the courthouse? My assumptions here, Julie, and this is just me. I treat me like a Labrador in these kind of situations, because I'm no legal professional, but my assumptions, and I can read, I can pay attention, and I can see pattern recognition. I see the Supreme Court humiliate this judge,
yes,
smash her down, and truly, like any honest person would just recuse themselves and or retire early after this happened to them at the Supreme Court. Also, the case pretty much shouldn't be allowed to carry on due to the landmines that have now been laid every 2 inches in this case about President Trump and what constitution official act and what doesn't. Am I right so far?
You are absolutely right. Not only does the immunity ruling, Benny, impact this now watered down January 6th indictment, Jack Smith had to file a superseding indictment last week that cut out 9 pages from his original indictment, dropped a co-conspirator, former DOJ official Jeffrey Clark, because the Supreme Court said very succinctly that any communications between a sitting president and his Department of Justice is, of course, part of a core function of the presidency. So now we have other communications, especially with Vice President Mike Pence, that the court said also is presumptively immune, meaning that DOJ would have to prove that it wasn't immune, that it was a private act. The Supreme Court said, no, of course, a president can have communications with his vice president. So aside from the immunity issue, though, Benny, we also have the Fisher ruling, and that is, of course, the 1512C2 obstruction of an official proceeding that the Supreme Court came back, as you and I have talked about, overturning how DOJ has interpreted that statute. That represents 2 of the 4 counts in Jack Smith's indictment. This whole indictment it's not even a real thing, right? So we shouldn't be handling it that way. Between Fisher and immunity, it will be completely overturned by the higher courts, especially the Supreme Court. Judge Chutkan didn't care. And some of her most alarming statements yesterday, and I posted this on Twitter. Number one, that the electoral schedule, she said, will have no impact on what's happening in her courtroom. She also said at one point, yelling and again interrupting John Lauro, Donald Trump's attorney, saying, this has nothing to do with the presidency of the United States. This is the only most important landmark presidential immunity case in American history. And she's treating it like a typical drug case or J6 case in her courtroom. That is exactly what she said. And she actually at one point again interrupted John Lauro and said, I don't want to hear your rhetoric about how serious of an issue this is. So I'm getting the transcript, Benny. I will be posting it probably next week. But, and then of course, her ruling yesterday, even though she called this an irregular procedure, Jack Smith's request to file an opening brief, which I don't even know what that means, to defend his now even watered down indictment, to explain why the existing elements are not covered under immunity, even though she said this is an irregular step, last night she agreed to it. And she set a number of deadlines leading up to Election Day and even 2 days after, where Donald Trump's lawyers will have to file a response to one of these motions on November 7th. I mean, how could this possibly be happening? This isn't even a serious indictment. Now it's watered down. It will be overturned. Oh, and you know what else she said? This is how she again ignored the Supreme Court. She kind of laughed and said, well, it doesn't matter what I rule. I'll be reversed anyway. I know that I'll be reversed.
No.
Yes, she did.
So, all right, we have the production team grabbing your tweets from yesterday, and we're gonna pop them up on screen here. But okay, 2 things that were shocking in what you just said, and quite frankly, utterly alarming to me, because it reinforces something that you've been examining and experiencing when you go down to Florida and you go into Judge Eileen Cannon's courthouse, and Judge Eileen Cannon is like, hold on, Jack Smith, you have no power here. Very Tolkien-esque. Like, you aren't real. And once you get into a real place with an actual judge, Judge Cannon's just, you're done here. You're not even a real special counsel. Be gone, demon, right? But then after that happens, Jack Smith's allowed to like go on and still be treated like a princeling in Washington, D.C. How does Judge Chutkan, as you just said, say, I don't care what's happening at a federal level? How the hell can you say that? You are a federal judge, aren't you? Like, isn't that the point of you, that you're there to like follow the highest court in the land, like first as measure, Constitution first, then highest court in the land on down, and that she knows she's going to be overturned by the Supreme Court? Well, wouldn't that automatically mean, and any decent person or honest person, you just give up? The whole thing is smacks of like a universe totally untethered to reality in Washington, D.C.
It really is. And of course, I've been reporting on these J6 cases for more than 3.5 years, and never failed to be completely shocked and sickened by what I see these judges and prosecutors do. And I was in 2 J6 hearings on a Wednesday where these judges also are thumbing their nose at the Supreme Court and the Fisher ruling, but that's a separate matter. Keep in mind, Tanya Chutkan was appointed by Barack Obama. I reported on her extensively, going back to transcripts of comments she has made in J6 sentencing hearings. At one point, she suggested that Donald Trump was responsible for January 6th and said, but he still remains free. The person responsible remains free, suggesting, of course, strongly that Donald Trump should be behind bars. She has a long record of making anti-Trump statements in her courtroom, also lying, flat out lying about the events of January 6th. Now, this infects the entire courthouse in Washington, D.C. Trump appointees, down to Reagan, if you can believe it. So this is the mindset, the poisoned mindset of these judges. And she reflected that again yesterday. But to come out and say her next immunity order, right, her next immunity decision, whether those comms with Vice President Pence are protected or not, she's basically saying, I'm going to determine that those were personal private conduct, and I don't care because I'll get all the headlines. It will advance the case. And even if I'm overturned by the appellate court, which she won't in DC, but certainly the Supreme Court, she doesn't care. She knows it's coming. How reckless and irresponsible. This is really judicial misconduct. And it's shocking that there's not more that has been, steps that have been taken towards her and other judges. But to outright say, I am going to issue an order I know will be inaccurate and overturned, but I don't care because I recognize the political nature of this historic case. That is something reckless at a new level that I haven't even seen with these judges. And I thought I've seen it all, but that was new.
So we of course follow this space pretty closely and are regularly monitoring corporate media. And we noticed something pretty remarkable on CNN after this case had adjourned, and after the courthouse had adjourned. They brought on a what we would call maybe the anti-gravity Julie Kelly, which was like a breathless, bespectacled reporter who kept who gave a on-air almost broke into tears, having hot flashes, talking about Jack Smith's beard. I'd like to get your response to this, see if this matches with what you saw yesterday.
The other thing I want to point out here, Wolf, is there was a lightness to this proceeding. Nobody has been in this courtroom before Judge Chutkan since last October. And even Jack Smith, we haven't seen him in a courtroom for some time. He was there today. His beard is a lot longer than the last time I remember seeing him. Judge Chutkan, her hair, it's lighter. And even at the beginning of this proceeding, she said, everybody looks rested. And there was laughter across the courtroom.
Oh, were you there begging to stroke Jack Smith's beard, Julie, like CNN was?
Well, I did not have the same reaction that she did. I saw this reporter. I see her at court proceedings. We're cordial. We kind of wave, but we certainly did not have the same interpretation. Jack Smith did walk in. And quite frankly, he's a totally unimpressive individual in person. He looks scraggly. He's hunched over. He stands there and kind of, sneers at the crowd. He turned around several times to see who was in the gallery. He has that look on his face. He thinks he's a tough guy, but he's a loser. I mean, tell me a prosecutor who has more defeats at the Supreme Court than this guy. Yeah. Yet he struts in with his gang of prosecutors. I know there's two of them at the table, Tom Windham and Molly Gaston. I think he had several more with him. I mean, you have lost basically everything. Judge Cannon, in a 92-page order, just explained why you are unconstitutionally appointed. And you know what else was totally untoward and inappropriate yesterday? Is Judge Chutkan taking a shot at Judge Cannon. Because what the defense said is we need to file a new motion to dismiss basically on the same grounds, unconstitutional appointment under the Appointments Clause and the Appropriations Clause. That's what got the Florida Documents case dismissed in July. Judge Chutkan kind of sneered and said, well, I don't agree with that opinion. There's zero chance, I mean zero, that Tanya Chutkan read that very careful order. And at one point, when John Lauro brought up Justice Thomas's name, because of course he said in the immunity order that he believed Jack Smith was unconstitutionally appointed, you could see this sneer on her face, like open contempt that anyone would mention Clarence Thomas's name in her courtroom. Again, I really wish there was video. Hopefully my tweets and coverage will do enough. I'll have a piece up on my Substack this weekend detailing more of it. But look, this man does, I mean, what else why are they doing this to him? Like, why? And if you are so convinced you're going to win, why do you have this multi-pronged hundreds of millions of dollars of our money to destroy him, his family, his business, and in the process, most importantly, silence the vote and the voices of all of us as Trump supporters and voters? So, yes. And this is going to go on. We're going to have headlines, Benny, every week now out of this J6 case. And you'll have more breathless reporters talking about how great Jack Smith is, how brilliant his brief is. Keep in mind, too, Donald Trump is still under a gag order in Washington, D.C. So when they are talking about potential witness testimony, releasing grand jury transcripts of, say, a Mike Pence or someone like that, Donald Trump can't even respond. He's still under a gag order. Banana Republic. I mean, what else? How else can you describe this?
Mike Davis was on yesterday along with Tom Fitton, and I guess like it's Friday, right? So we live a we decided to be happy warriors on this program. I know you are very much a happy warrior, even in the darkest of times. You're still very cheerful, Julie, and that's a value that the left obviously doesn't have. You see these like macabre, very sad Halloween images of like Jack Skellington, special prosecutor there. It's a beat that I want to head into the weekend with, which is what happens if Trump is elected, right? So Trump wins, and there are so many good indicators and so many good signs and so much good momentum heading into the November election. Mike Davis is on saying Trump, with prejudice, dismisses these allegations that Trump, acting attorney general, on day one, and then now it's time for Jack Smith to be investigated. And now it's time for the investigations. You know, the hunters have become the hunted. Mike Davis saying if Donald Trump is sentenced to jail, which may happen in a week, in 10 days,
right,
that the Supreme Court will step in and the Supreme Court will step in and spring Trump from jail. So a two-part question just to close out here. What happens if Trump is sentenced to jail? Two, like, do you have the same cheery disposition that this can all end on day one of a Trump presidency?
I will tell you, I had a conversation with an attorney about this today. Watching Judge Chutkan, knowing her background, we could have an Emmett Sullivan situation. You will recall in the Mike Flynn case, where both the DOJ and Mike Flynn's defense attorneys moved to dismiss and vacate that perjury conviction. And Emmett Sullivan, another Democrat judge, basically hired his own attorney, refused to drop the case. I am telling you, Judge Chutkan is not just if Donald Trump wins. First of all, if he wins, she is still going to continue these proceedings until noon on January 20th, 2025. After that, if his DOJ drops all of this or attempts to, I wouldn't be surprised if she pulled an Emmett Sullivan and tried to keep this alive. That's how desperate, vengeful, and retaliatory this judge is. And so we have to consider that as an option. But of course, the more terrifying one, and I know we want to end upbeat, is that he does not win. And this lawfare accelerates, and they continue to charge him in Washington based on anything he does after Election Day to try to uncover election fraud or comments that he makes. This could really accelerate and add more charges if he ultimately loses. So I'm sorry, that's not an upbeat way to end on Friday, but
that's okay. We have an entire script packed full of happy information, and it's like, and cringe-inducing Kamala Harris clips, and we're gonna have a presidential debate in a couple days. So I have a feeling that's going to be a very good day for everyone as well, and perhaps the day that the 2024 election hinges upon, I believe. So, Julie, in closing here, what is your advice for people heading out into the weekend? Get
Let's see.
outside.
Have a good time.
Get some exercise.
Have fun.
Eat red meat.
I'm all about
That's
fun
right.
too.
Play tennis.
That's why
right?
it's
Yeah.
theory. Yep.
That's
Go out
right.
with your family, your friends, your husband, your wife. Enjoy the last little gasps of summer. But also, I think we have to really understand the gravity of what's before us. Get people who aren't registered to vote for us. And suburban women, I'm talking to you. Don't tolerate the I'm voting for Kamala Harris because of Donald Trump's mean tweets. You have an obligation to explain to your friends who watch The View and read Daily Mail, and that's their sources of information. You have an obligation to explain to them what is at stake in this election. So,
yes.
How's that? While you're having fun.
There you go. There you go. Fantastic. Yeah. It's been one hell of a week. Here's Julie Kelly's incredible X profile. You got to follow because you get the little doggies. This is obviously very important. My favorite part of putting this up. But 704,000 people. Julie Kelly is rocking. That many people can't be wrong. Go follow Julie Kelly for the best reporting out there, and somebody who always has a little extra pep in her step. Julie, thank you and Godspeed.
Benny, back to you too. Go enjoy that beautiful family this weekend and tune out for the weekend.
Yeah, that's right. Pizza night at the Johnson household.
There
Pizza and
you
ice
go.
cream. This is what
Love
Fridays are. Pizza and ice cream on the golf cart. Thank you, Julie.
Thanks, Benny.
Fun fact and part of the lore, Julie Kelly once sent me ice cream. Julie Kelly sent my family ice cream once from like an ice cream place, I think in Wisconsin, maybe Illinois. And he's like, here's some ice cream. And it came in this giant freezer bag. And I think it's when we had like our second or third child. And you get this giant freezer bag with like hot fudge and sprinkles and stuff. And it's a whole ice cream freezer bag. It's awesome. Actually, that's awesome. So anyway, become friends with Julie Kelly is the point. And then you'll get your ice cream freezer bag, your giant ice cream freezer bag full of goodness from the Midwest, which is where so much goodness comes from. So, ladies and gentlemen, a rockin' show and a rockin' day today. We do have some other interesting, I think, good news for us. I can only interpret it as good news. This broke during the show yesterday, and we didn't really have time to talk it out because it hadn't happened yet. But Hunter Biden pleaded guilty to all counts. Pleading guilty to all counts of the tax evasion, millions of dollars in tax evasion. Now, this, of course, begs the question, where are the further charges against Hunter Biden, right? Because if he's guilty of hiding all the money, where's the money come from? These now, ladies and gentlemen, are questions. But I guess we'll have to wait for maybe a new Justice Department. We're going to have to wait for somebody to, crack open Hunter Biden's laptop. Waiting for that day. But yesterday, Hunter Biden effectively said, yes, I did these things. The IRS tried to cover them all up. The IRS got rid of agents who were looking into this. And the plea bargain was even given to Hunter Biden that he didn't even have to plead guilty. Power corrupts absolutely. Pride comes before destruction. And Hunter Biden putting his head down and pleading guilty yesterday to all of his felonies. And he's facing a lot of time in jail for this. Here's the news.
Hunter decided to enter his plea to protect those he loves from unnecessary hurt and cruel humiliation. This plea prevents that kind of show trial that would have not provided all the facts or served any real point in justice.
It was Lowell who earlier in the day had dropped the bombshell in court that the plea was going to be changed. At that point, it was a so-called Alford plea in which Biden would plead guilty while maintaining his innocence to some of the charges against him. The Department of Justice objected to that. The judge then heard from both sides and indicated he would be open to what is called an open plea agreement. In other words, an admission on all charges, an admission of guilt. So then the prosecution was allowed to read out the entire 56-page indictment, including all the lurid details about strippers, fast cars, fast women, as prosecutors had put it. And then Judge Mark Scarsi put each of the 9 charges individually to Hunter Biden, asking him how he pled. He said guilty 9 times, and that wrapped up the court proceedings. He will now be sentenced, Brett, on December 16th. On November 13th, he'll be sentenced on that gun conviction you mentioned in Delaware. We will then all await to see whether President Biden, on his way out of the White House, either pardons his son or commutes those sentences. Up until now, President Biden himself and today his White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, said, no, that will not happen. We'll find out for sure around noon on January 20th.
What a setup there. What a based judge. This is pretty remarkable. The judge made Hunter Biden listen to all of the indictment against him, and made Hunter Biden listen to all of the charges and go, like, are you guilty? Are you guilty? Are you guilty? Are you guilty? 9 times. And then reading that, I mean, we've read them to you. It's very hard to do a show that is family appropriate when you read through the demonic sex clubs that he was a part of, that he was kicked out of, his behavior at these things, how he ran, like he effectively like funneled money through a demonic sex club in LA that he was banned from because he was too much of a degenerate. It's wild. So they read all of that in court. You can see why you don't want people to be arguing the finer details of these things. Hunter Biden sex trafficking women, violations of the Mann Act. It's all available. It's all sitting right there on the Hunter Biden laptop. Hunter Biden on Thursday pled guilty. The president's son will find out his fate. He faces 17 years in prison, $1.3 million in fines. Hunter decided to enter the plea to protect those from being unnecessarily hurt. What does this mean, however, ladies and gentlemen? What this actually means is that Hunter Biden is planning on a pardon from his dad. If Hunter Biden thought that, and if the government had like high and strong confidence that there would be a Kamala Harris or a Joe Biden in Washington, D.C., getting sworn in as resident or president on January 20, then they wouldn't be doing this. They'd be fighting all of this tooth and nail. But they don't have that. So they need to make sure that it's not Donald Trump and that this trial isn't ongoing. Because if it's President Trump, then I think the chances of a pardon are quite small. And so Hunter Biden is taking his get out of jail free card as quickly as possible so that he can get sentenced on these things and then get daddy to wave the wand. This is exactly what's going on. It is a heavy indication and a flashing red light that Democrats are once again terrified of a President Trump and are hedging their bets. The next sign that you need to look for is Joe Biden dropping out completely and saying, I can no longer serve as president. I'm going to install Kamala. That's the next thing you got to see. The next thing. That's the next indicator, okay? This is the next signal. Jonathan Turley reacting to this and saying that's the game here. They're planning on Trump being president, and they got to make sure that Joe still has the power. Watch.
He was doing it in a case where his guilt was not just established, it was just screaming from the pages. I mean, they knew that if they went into that courtroom, the jury would not take kindly to this argument because those jurors pay their taxes. And having some really wealthy, privileged guy say that I paid him, 6 years late, and it's because I had an addiction would not likely go over well with that jury.
Yeah. Do you see why the country thinks the justice system's rigged? This is a guy who had escorts. They had diamonds. He was losing from the Chinese. He's smoking crack. He's getting Porsches from overseas. He's showing his clients his dad's office at the White House. I mean, any other guy, this guy's facing 17 years. He's got gun charges, felonies. And this guy's not going to serve any time because he's going to get pardoned. Don't you see why people don't trust the entire system here?
Well, the interesting aspect of all this is that it is his entitlement that produced his undoing. For all of this chaos that the Biden legal team has created, from holding that bizarre press conference outside of Congress to the reaction when the first plea deal fell through, to that actual first plea deal, which was so obscene, over the top, that even the prosecutor admitted he had never seen anyone given that type of deal. All of that was because of a sense of entitlement, that he expected that. And in each case, it has led to a spectacular failure through this entire series of events.
Mm-hmm. What a nice ringing note to send us off into the weekend here. That pride cometh before destruction, and that what you need to do is stay the course, stay honest, and stay focused on what really matters, which is the truth. Don't be a liar, which is the truth, and to obviously continue to speak the truth and to scream the truth, actually, and to be salt and light, and not put that lamp under a bushel, right? As they say, as a good book says. So the problem that Hunter Biden faced was his inability to just cop to the truth, was his inability to pay his taxes, cooperate. I mean, he was lying to us. Here's a good example. Okay, here's a good example of why it's so hard to read the Hunter Biden allegations. One of the allegations against Hunter Biden included text messages from Hunter Biden to his ex-wife. He has children with his ex-wife. And the ex-wife was saying, it's really expensive to raise kids. It is. Kids cost money. Can you please pay your alimony that the court has ordered you to pay? We are raising children together. You have kids. This is your obligation. You are a man. Stand up for that. These are text messages from his ex-wife. Hunter Biden's response to that is, I'm broke. Then you look at his financials, and you realize that he's spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on hookers that same year. Hundreds of thousands of dollars on drugs that same year. On hotels for paramours that same year. These are the kind of things that you don't want argued in court. And you'd rather not have like some extra scrutiny on. Better to just have daddy wave his little wand and get it over with. It is too cute by half. So we'll keep watching and see what happens. Will Joe Biden pardon his son? Yeah. Is that the plan? I mean, it's got to be, right? At this point. I mean, guaranteed if Donald Trump wins, when Donald Trump wins, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But interesting days and interesting times that we live in. Never thought I'd see it. Hunter Biden getting found guilty in Delaware on the gun charge and now pleading guilty. So guilty on everything. We've done 100,000 shows on this. ALX and I have done so many shows on Hunter Biden and the laptop, and it feels nice to be vindicated, actually. Feels nice to be vindicated. We'll see if anybody asks about this and ask Benny anything this week. All right, ask Benny anything from the Brigaders. Here we go. Can your team reach out to Tampon Tim's brother and see if he's willing to come on your show? Absolutely, we already have. The man's a little media shy. So we have actually made direct contact with Jeff Waltz, and we are being as nice as possible when it comes to efforting an interview. Casey Palmer asked this question, and that's where we're at right now. We'll just go to Nebraska and interview all the Waltzes that were in that viral photo that Donald Trump talked about this week. Andrew Smith asks, hey, Benny, I just want to know if you have any meetups planned. Yeah. Gosh. Yes. It's just been, wife's pregnant again. Got 3 little kids. We're traveling on the road all the time. We will get it done. We will get it done. Yes, we will get it done. Mark my words. And we will be very, very public about it. We want to do a meetup. We want to go to something on the water. go to just a bar. American Social is a great place here in Tampa, and just like sort of open up the back room and do a meet and greet, like, and just invite everyone to come. That's what we're planning on doing. It's just getting all the moving pieces together. Thank you, Andrew Smith. You'll be the first one to get the invitation. Chris Graff asks, did you see the post about Fannie Willis' daughter getting arrested and driving a suspended license? And guess who shows up on the scene? Nathan's hot dog. Big Fanny and Mini Fanny. Big Fanny and Mini Fanny. You can see here Nathan's hot dog. Obviously, looking quite casual. The relationship's over. Remember, this is what they represented to the court. The relationship's completely over. We're not dating anymore. We're just going on a big road trip together for fun. Make sure that we keep the 2 inches apart. Poor Nathan's hot dog. Oh man, always drama with this guy. Yeah, this is it. Chris Graff, we did see this, in fact, and we were licking our chops to make more memes. We wanted the story to accelerate. There's just so much to talk about these days. So we hope for many more, probably the best memes we ever made at this company were the Big Fanny memes. Oh man, were they fun. We got any of those from the archives? Maybe we can play one at the end of the show. The Big Fanny memes were so get me the Nathan Wade one where he's thinking about Big Fanny. Get me that one. I refuse to end the show. I will stay on here. I don't care how long it takes the producers. Get me that one. I will stay live until we can get that Big Fanny Nathan Wade meme up. It is my favorite meme maybe we've ever created, and it makes me belly laugh every single time that we play it. There it is. Good. Okay, fantastic. Here we go. Klein, get that sucker loaded. Come on, baby. Let's get her. Let's get it out. Which is exactly
cabin with Miss Willis.
Either way.
Ever.
All this time we've been together, thought a thing would last forever. Through thick and thin, good or bad, all I was happy, never sad. Now it's all gone sour, getting worse by the hour. Let's break up. No. No.
Oh man, we got. That one's good. It's for that. I was like, come on. Buddy.
Did you go to a cabin?
No. But the other for that one, the only fannies. Oh, this is a good one. Come on, guys. We got to bring these memes back. Come on. We have so much fun on this program. It's like got to get the Fanny news cycle back, and hopefully Fanny just do some dumbass thing and bring the news cycle back, because we have so many memes. We have an armada of memes just sitting here waiting. Yeah, go. You don't have to ask permission. There you go. Wow. Okay. So there we are. Fannie Willis sleeping on a bag of cash. Whoa! We have breaking news. We have breaking news right now, ladies and gentlemen. Holy smokes. Holy moly. Wow. Breaking news. Let's give me my breaking news. Give me a second. Give me my breaking news. Let's go. Okay. Donald Trump's hush money sentencing is delayed till after the election. Holy moly. I'm glad we were live for an extra hour today, because here it is, the news. Donald Trump's will not be sentenced on September 18th. We have been talking to Tom Fitton, Julie Kelly, Mike Davis, all of our legal experts. Will Donald Trump go to prison? I want to see Trump fight emojis in the chat. Roll them, baby. Roll them. Trump fight emojis in the chat. Donald Trump sentencing delayed. Donald Trump will not go to prison before the election. This is wild. Massive breaking news. Let's go ahead and read. This is happening right now. This is breaking seconds ago. President Trump, I'm just reading the last lines. Of here. Ordered the defendant motion set aside jury verdict to dismiss indictments will be handed down off calendar on November 12th. Further order that the sentencing of the matter will now happen on November 26th at 10 a.m. Further order, the defendant's motion to preclude the people from filing pre-sentence is denied. The people's submission, if any, the court seal pursuant. This is remarkable. This is not a decision this court makes lightly, but a decision that, in this court's view, best advances the interests of justice, is the final written line, saying that right now we are fraught with complexities, rendering the requirement of the sentencing hearing should be necessary and difficult to execute. Saying effectively, they want to lock up Donald Trump. This is what they're going to. They're trying to lock up Donald Trump, but they wouldn't have the capacity to do it. They don't know how they would do it. Should be necessary, difficult to execute. That's what that means. Thus, in accordance with on the grounds submitted to the defendant, the reason adjournment provided the people unique time frame in matter currently finds itself in, the decision motion of the sentences will be adjourned and avoided the appearance, however unwanted, that the proceeding has been affected or seeks to affect the presidential election in which the defendant is a candidate. There it is. The court is fair and impartial. This is breaking news right now, ladies and gentlemen. As we read through this, please go back one page there, Klein. Let's follow along. The court is fair and impartial and an apolitical institution, LOL. Adjoining decision on the motion of sentencing is such required should dispel any suggestion that the court will have issue in decision imposed sentence to give an advantage or to create disadvantage for any political party or candidate or office. Adjournment for the sentencing is routinely granted, often several times, in a number of criminal matters pending the courthouse, particularly when unopposed, for reasons ranging from personal circumstances to scheduling needs of parties involved. Given the unique facts and circumstances of this case, there is no reason the defendant should be treated any differently than any other. So what they're saying here is because Trump is running for president, we are going to acknowledge that. It's amazing how we got to this point. We're going to acknowledge that Trump is running for president, and we're going to treat him like he's the presidential candidate, which he is. He's the only rightful presidential candidate, because Kamala Harris is totally illegitimate. So they have delayed the sentencing. Mike Davis has regularly been on this program predicting that Donald Trump would be put in jail, that they were going to throw Trump into Rikers Island. And many of the legal professionals on this matter have said that that is a real possibility and that they were really planning on putting Trump in prison before the election. What is this? This is an admission that they can't pull it off and that they're too scared that Trump will win. Also, they're too scared about what this would do for Trump's polls, I believe. If you were to sit me down and say dollars to donuts, what do you think is really happening here? I would say, well, you want to put Donald Trump's already skyrocketing in the polls. You want to put him up by 50 points. You want him to get a 40-state landslide. Put him in an orange jumpsuit before the election. Let him run from a prison cell. Make him Nelson Mandela, modern day Nelson Mandela. That is how you do it. That is how you guarantee it. And maybe they're like, maybe they're trying to make sure that they don't do that, which would maybe be the only smart thing I've seen them do in quite a while. More breaking news. Okay. Court victories for RFK. Wow. Here we go from Charlie Kirk. Huge breaking. Michigan Appeals Court has just mandated that a Michigan Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, who is a really, really abhorrent cretin, Jocelyn Benson remove RFK's name from the ballot in that state. This is the same Secretary of State that worked unsuccessfully to remove Cornel West's name from the ballot. Also breaking, North Carolina Court of Appeals have also ordered RFK Jr.'s name taken off the general election ballot. The ruling will force mail-out ballots that were to be reprinted. They were sent to go out today. Big W's. So huge W's, ladies and gentlemen. So, of course, RFK has endorsed President Trump. They will be campaigning together. And RFK sent out a very lengthy email last night to his supporters on their private email list for explaining why they need to vote for Trump and not vote for RFK, even if you're in one of these states that still have his name on the ballot. But now RFK's name is being taken off the ballot. This is obviously a good thing and is not paradoxical at all when it comes to our programming, because RFK has said he is not running for president. He is dropping out in these critical states, and he does not wish to have his name on the ballot. That should also be a right of the candidates and American, like an American. And Donald Trump has a right to run for president and not be chained to a courthouse the entire time he's doing this. And RFK, if he wishes to drop out of the race, should be able to say, I don't want my name on the ballot because I'm not running anymore, which he did. They're simply keeping it on the ballot because it hurts Trump far more than it hurts Kamala, and that's what the math shows. So this is huge, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the breaking news on what we just covered live. Juan Merchan, the hush money trial judge, you may recall, totally and completely compromised by his Democrat donor daughter, who works for Kamala Harris. What does that mean? Has delayed the sentencing for Donald Trump till after the election. Here we go.
Right, John.
Always good to see the secretary. Yes, this is some breaking news coming from the New York City courts. Judge Juan Merchan, who has been the presiding judge over former President Trump's so-called hush money case, has made a determination that he is not going to go ahead with the September 18th sentencing date for the former president, that it will be delayed until after the election. This had been a really fraught decision for this judge, because people had observed, Sandra, that if he had have gone ahead with the sentencing, then the former president could have accused him of meddling in an election. And if he decided to delay the sentencing until after the election, no doubt he would get hit by a lot of accusations that he was acting in Donald Trump's political interests as opposed to in the interests of justice. But the breaking news coming to us just a couple of minutes ago, Judge Juan Merchan, the presiding judge in the so-called hush money case with Stormy Daniels, has decided to delay the sentencing for the former president until after the November election. This is a big decision, Sam.
Man, this is wow. This is wild. Very, very exciting stuff. Very exciting stuff. I'm telling you, we live in biblical times. We live in biblical times. We do not fight flesh and blood. We fight spiritual battles. It is darkness that we are battling against. And the only way you conquer darkness is, and you conquer the king of lies, is to speak truth, right? That is it. You speak the truth, you stand on the truth, and salt and light, right? A lot of salt on this program. I used to get giant salt shakers around here, man. We didn't have a single salt that lib in this program. There's going to be a lot of salty libs on this decision. Holy moly. I bet this is causing absolute meltdowns. Of course, we are live right now. I'm very glad. Thank you, Donald Trump, for doing a somewhat long press conference, because you got us to a point where we could do this breaking news. Pretty great. Okay. My team is telling me that Jonathan Turley's on Fox News talking about this right now, but it's ongoing. They say it's very good, but it's ongoing, and so I'm not sure if we're going to have it unless we want to log in and just cover live. But we're not. I don't think we're set up for that right now. So moving forward, we'll make sure that anything of that nature gets up on the page. It is an exciting time, and we were looking for good news to bounce into the weekend with. There it is. God delivers like manna from heaven, falls right into our laps. Julie Kelly was on with the doom and gloom, but we got the good news, man, right in time, hot, fresh, out of the oven. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. If you wish to support our programming and you wish to support us fighting the good fight and fighting against what I think are literal demons, actually, from hell, then please, join the Benny Brigade, become a member. You get really cool emojis when you become members on YouTube. And if you join the Benny Brigade, then you are directly supporting our team and our work. And we have so many exciting projects to announce for you. Launching new channels. I mean, we're cooking, man. We're cooking over here. We got some special things. Launching brand new channels, doing some some big time work with Team Trump and with some other special guests. And it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. We're going to take you there along with us. Our biggest thing right now is making sure internally on the team that we're ready to live stream these cool events and and stay live and be there. You can be there real life with us. That's what we're going to start doing on this program. You're going to travel with us, and we're going to be live together inside of these awesome Trump's plane, the boats, the motorcades. It's going to be freaking awesome. So join, please. Support the channel. I also know what it's like to be completely dead broke in my life. And I understand that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have destroyed this economy on purpose because they're Marxists. And so if you're just watching, well, then we say thank you as well. And we say bless you. We thank you. We're building here a army of happy warriors. You cannot defeat an army of happy warriors. And the way we stay joyous is we stay centered, right? Like if your rock is immovable, and if your joy in your life is predicated on something that won't change and doesn't really get, the bashed in by the waves and the winds and all the king's horse and all the king's men can't really move it, then you're going to live a good life. And so set your hopes upon things that will be with you, right? Like first your faith, then your family, then getting up in the morning, getting some sunshine, working out, eating red meat. Come on, boys. Is there anything else that we need? Some giant grains of sea salt on our steak. Man, you're cooking, sitting there with kids on your lap, a happy home, and reading your Bible. What else do you need? And with that, you can conquer everything. With that at your back, you can take on the world, and it's fun to do so. Our Bible, let's crack it open this morning. Psalms 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. With whom shall I fear? The Lord is my strength, the strength of my life. In whom shall I be afraid? That is perfect for today. That's how we march forward in confidence, with our heads held high, with the wind at our back, and with a stiff upper lip, as they say. Because you know what? Victory is already ours. Marching with you into the weekend in victory. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
Those that want people to believe that you want retribution, that you will use the system of justice to go after your political enemies.
Maybe smash a few things along the way.
Where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.